How to make your own hamburger. Do it yourself. This is an antelope here, pronghorn. I like deer and elk better, that's for sure. What we've done here, we've got a hind quarter, already started to take off some of it. The leg, muscles. What we're going to do here is basically just take some muscles off. Alright, clean them up, and then we're going to go ahead and show you how to grind it up and make that hamburger last a long time. Because what we grind up with our burger is peppers and onions. And it keeps the moisture in the burger, gives it flavor, and it will last a long time frozen. Now, again, this here's a hind quarter. We've already cut up a lot of meat. I'll go ahead and show you. So we've got most of it already cut up. We're just going to do a little bit more, and then from there I'm going to go ahead and show you how to grind it up. So what you do, I am not a butcher, that's for sure, as you can probably readily see, but you look for the main bones going into any select cut of meat that you have, and you basically start stripping away the meat right next to the bone. We usually leave a little bit more of meat on the bone here to feed to the dogs and I don't know, neighbor next door. But that's what we're doing here. We're just going to go ahead and strip away this meat. Now, while this is on, you see any extra sinew or something like that, it's usually kind of easy. What we did ahead of time, we had to wash this off a little bit. Made the meat a little bit kind of hard to hang on to, but what I'm doing here is I'm actually taking all this off. You want to get most of that off that you can, for when you grind it up, it doesn't get ground up into your burger. So what we're doing here, going down, we'll come back to the individual strips later, clean those up, and then we'll get everything ready for grinding. This is what we're doing here. Again, we're trying to follow the outline of the bone. And professional butcher I am not, obviously, but you know what, a lot of times you have to do what you have to do to live, and that means you harvest an animal, you take the meat, you prepare it the way you want it. You can turn it into roast, steaks, chops, burger, and that's basically what we're going to do here. Or you could go ahead and make jerky. If you want to make jerky, you take your hamburger and put that into a patty like, smash it down thin, and then you cut strips. Then you go ahead and put that in your food dehydrator or put it over an oven rack and dry it out that way. Of course, there's all kinds of herbs and spices you can use. So what I'm doing here, I'm just stripping away. Now the grinder we're going to use, it's a commercial grinder, but it's kind of like a commercial home grinder. It's heavy duty, but we still have to cut it down in a little bit smaller strips of meat. Now this type of meat here that we have, you can actually go ahead and fillet this off into a steak or something, 3 or 4 pieces, put it into the bag, freeze it, and then get it out in the morning. You can go ahead and use it for breakfast meat, what have you. What we're going to do here, again, we're just going to go ahead and cut this meat up, get it ready to be ground. Now as you cut through the meat, if you find any places like this, it's always best to cut those away because you don't want to go ahead and grind that up. Incidentally, you ever have a problem with any type of meat that starts to develop a slime or a gel-like coating on it after being out a while, vinegar, white distilled vinegar or apple cider vinegar will take away all that slime coating. Years ago, when I was talking to some butcher friends of mine, done a lot of taxidermy work for them, etc., they told me that in all the decades coming up, if it wouldn't be for vinegar in a lot of situations, some butchers would go out of business. And that's when I started to question him, and I got all kinds of little ins and outs of what was going on years ago. But anyway, with all food inspection statutes and everything we got going today, most of our food supply is pretty doggone safe. Doesn't mean accidents don't happen, so you always got to be careful with it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and continue following this pattern, cut the meat the way I want it, and then put it in here, come back and clean it, and then I'm going to go ahead and get the table ready and have the machine, have the grinder on here. We're going to grind through some onions and peppers and things like that, and then we're going to go ahead and grind the meat. And I like to grind the meat twice too. So we'll be back here in a little bit once I get this part done, and we'll show you how to go ahead and make that hamburger last a long time, have a good flavor, because you can use the hamburger for meatloaf or whatever it is else that you want to go ahead and cook. Thanks. Okay, I just want to turn the camera back on here for a moment. A lot of times in meat, you're going to find glands. Certain area right here. Always make sure you cut any glands out of the meat. You don't want to grind that up. You don't want to eat it. Obviously, you don't want to cook it, contaminate everything. So basically, just cut it off. Now, you're going to think, well, I've already contaminated my hands, my knife. Not really. But if I would have ground that up into meat, I would have contaminated everything. So, if you ever come across any glands, cut them out when you get ready to butcher. Okay, I just thought I'd throw that in there and let you know. Well, here we are back. What we're going to do now, have the grinder set up. And we have the meat over here. And we have our little ingredients. This here, white onions. You can use yellow, purple, whatever type of onions you like. The white onions are usually a lot stronger tasting. We have peppers. Here we have jalapeno peppers that are green yet. They haven't been roasted or cooked or anything like that. We go ahead and split them, take out the seeds, and wash them, clean them up. And what we're going to do, we're going to take all that, grind it right through here, the grinder itself, and we're going to put that back into the bowl. We're going to grind some meat, and I like to grind the meat twice. We'll run it through once, and then I'm going to come back and run it through again, and at that particular point in time I'll probably take a handful, basically about a cup, and throw that through the grinder, and that mixes in with the meat itself. Okay, let's get started here. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and grind up all this. It already ran some meat through. Whenever you go ahead and you start to grind on a new machine, even though it's cleaned up and it's been sitting a while, you always want to run a little bit of stuff through first, make sure everything's clean, and then you can go ahead and start grinding. And of course we've already done that. That's why when you first looked at this, it already had some meat on it. Always use a plunger and never stick your fingers down there. It's always good to wear gloves, that way you don't have to worry about your hands contaminating any food. Now what I'll do is I'll transfer this back into this one bowl. Hopefully I won't make a big mess. How about that? Not a big mess. So, again, what we're going to do, we're going to start to grind the meat. And basically what we do, however strong you want this to be, will determine how much peppers and onions that you mix in with it. Usually, about a 10 to 20% ratio is what we like. Sometimes a little bit more. And what that does, again, all of the peppers and onions that are mixed in retains the moisture into the meat for long periods of freezing, and it adds flavor. And then from there you can get out your ground burger, whatever it may be, pronghorn antelope, deer, elk, bear, what have you. Then you can go ahead and make a meatloaf if you want, something of that nature. Now, on anything like bear or pork or something like that, that has to be well done cooked. You know, you have to be real careful on that. But as far as antelope and deer and elk, even beef, you cook it to taste. So let's get started on grinding this. You see how it's grinding in there? Usually have different grinding plates and things like that. So this here is about the medium grind. Either you do it, you pay someone else to do it. So you can save money by doing it yourself. I'll grind it twice. And now this time I'm going to go ahead and mix in the ground peppers and onion. Now I don't have to mix it through the machine. You can just go ahead and mix it by hand if you want. The type of meat that we're using right now, again, is pronghorn. I prefer deer and elk. So, what we'll do here, now you can go ahead and be more specific. Measure up a cup if you want. That's what's nice about having on gloves. You can kind of go back and forth. And in this instance, we don't have to worry about cross-contamination. Because that cross-contamination just isn't going to happen because it's all going to be mixed together anyway. So here, you can kind of mash this together up here and then run it back through here. That way, mixed in with the meat. And again, you can do it by hand. Just grab some, do it by hand if you want. But I'm just showing you this method right here. That extra little bit of squish sound here and there is air. What I'll do, I'll go ahead and finish this little part here, and we'll come back, we'll put some in the bags and show you the final procedure, and that should do it. Because you don't need to keep seeing me again and again and again doing this. So. Well, we're done with this part. We'll do the rest of this here a little bit later. But here we are. Have everything all mixed together. We have the peppers and the onions. Again, this is going to help retain moisture in here for long periods of freezing. Now, let's take it over here and put some in a bag. Now, typical freezer bag, I like to use 1 quart bags. So I'll fill this up, not where it's really bulging a lot. I have about a 2-inch perimeter going around, thick in here, maybe a little bit smaller. And then I'll go ahead and squeeze out what air I can, seal it up, then I'll put the date and what it is up here, always mark it. And then you can freeze it in your freezer and then stack them. And there you go. It'll last you a long time. Usually frozen meat, if it's properly frozen, you can vacuum pack it and it'll last, gosh, 2 or 3 years, literally frozen. So now, just frozen this way, if you came back and wrapped it with butcher paper, it'd help protect it even more. This here will last, from 6 months to up to a year. I wouldn't go much beyond that, but usually about 6 months. So, what we're going to do here is basically just a simple thing here. Me being left-handed, it's kind of a little awkward for everybody. So, usually you got a person on the grind, doing the grind and cutting up, one person doing the packing. Oh geez, you get a lot done. Now here we can see we're getting it about right. Let me put a little bit more in there. Now this holds a lot. A quart bag will hold a lot of meat to feed several people, really. I know some of you out there probably go ahead and eat the whole thing yourself, I understand. But what we want to do here is make it to usable portions for your family size. If it's just you and your wife, or just you, or maybe a family household, then you might want to fill them up, pack them, squeeze out the air, then maybe get a couple out. Just depends upon how many people you're going to feed. This also makes good spaghetti sauce. You can use this for there too. So what we're going to do here now, that's see that little bit? I'm sealing this portion. Now I'm going to come over here. Just squeeze this down. Move this out of the way. Come back, squeeze that shut as the air comes out. Alright. Alright. This is all sealed. Now I'll come back later, once I get the rest of them done. I'll put down the date, what it is, and there you go. Just go ahead and freeze those, and that'll feed you. They're good for everything, from meatloaf to hamburgers to making jerky to anything. Spaghetti sauce, you name it. It works. And you can make your burger last a lot longer this way. And it's already has all the flavoring in there. And if you want other spices, just mix them in. Thanks.